Hi everyone! Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson here. I will be talking about orchestration and reading. So let's start from really beginnings. I know some of you already know this, some of you maybe need to be reminded, but let's go from the beginning. One whole note equals two half notes. One half note equals two quarter notes. One quarter note equals two eighth notes. One eighth note equals two 60 notes. One 60 note equals two 30-seconds, and etc. When we have a 4/4 time signature, that means that one measure equals 4 quarter note value. Okay? So it doesn't matter if that measure has different type of notes, different value of notes, like you combine 8 notes, 60 notes, whole note, half note, whatsoever, as long that the sum at the end of the measure equals 4 quarter notes. Okay, so let me show you first example I wrote down. I decided to break down the first quarter note in the measure into this. What we have here is one 8 note rest, and one 8 note rest equals two 16 note rests. And then the second half of the beat, we have two 16 notes left. So we would count them as 1E and A. Cool? The way we would count this, instead of saying each letter, because it can be a lot to say in such a short period of time, especially if the tempo is faster, then you're just like, oh, I'm kind of getting lost in here with all the counting, which of course eventually you won't have to pay that much attention to it, but at the beginning, yeah. So instead of doing 1E and 1E and 1E and you can count it as 1 and 1 and 1 and. Make sure you practice that along the metronome so you kind of get the idea of how fast you're saying word one, because if you're saying it too fast, it can sound like one and or one and which will be incorrect, and then either you'll end up counting it too fast or too slow. But yeah, just practice that and I'm sure you'll be good. Let's look at the second quarter note. So the second quarter note I broke down into this. Looks like that. So we have one E and A, one E and A. The way we would write it down, as you can see, those two E and N, those two 60 notes would transfer into one 8 note. More like transform into one 8 note, and then we have left with one 60 note, which is at the beginning, and the last one, which is at the end right here. The way we would count this, instead of counting each word or letter, it will be too difficult if we are playing fast, of course, so we can break it down into one E, A. The letter E, we would have to extend it so it covers N, which is silent, and it will sound like one E, A. One E, A. Keep in mind that the value of the previous note will determine what would be the interval or the spacing to the next note. The value from this note, 60 note, to the 8th note will equal, so the space will equal to the value of the first note. So the spacing will be 16th note long. And then we have here 8 note, right? So 8th note, the spacing from this 8th note to the next one, for this 16th note, will be what? Will be 8th note long. So it doesn't matter if you go backwards from the 16th to 8th, you will always know that the value, either from here to here, from here to here, will depend on the note that's previous. Cool. Now let's move to the third quarter note in the example. Alright, so the third quarter note in the measure, we divide it into 60 notes. So we already know that this equals 4 times 16th note. And we will count it as 1E and A. Okay, we're almost getting there. The last one is left, the 4th quarter note. I decided to leave it as a quarter note rest, which looks like that. And we know 1 quarter note, of course, equals 1 quarter note rest. Since we have all of this down, let's play it on the snare. Make sure you're alternating hands, so right, left, and each quarter note we will play a hi-hat foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3E and a 4. 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3 and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3 and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3 and a 4. 1 and a 2E, a 3 and a 4. 1. Keep practicing, and then don't forget the hi-hat, and don't forget to alternate your hands. Take your time with it, make sure it's on point, and I will see you in the next lesson.